Welcome to a football show Monday edition brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. That is Paul Kuharsky. I am Braden Gall, and it is good to see you, PK. How are you, sir?
I am well. It is a very interesting week, not filled with a lot of football.
We do have a couple of press availabilities and practices later on this week. I think, Wednesday and Thursday this week. But today and tomorrow, no availability, no activity. And then later on in the week, it's going to be relatively calm, of course. And then things get started next week. So football is here. College football got started over the weekend. We already had a top 25 upset, if you want to call it that. So it also, PK, I don't know if you noticed this, but this is a big deal at my house. I walked outside this morning, and I thought, smells a little bit like football. Almost smelled a little bit like football outside. I don't know what
my
if you
wife
noticed that.
just told me as I filled my water bottle that I should be doing this from outside.
It is quite nice.
Yeah.
Although I just took the dog for a walk, and it's still like I like it cold. I like it cold. So my 8-year-old walks outside, and she's like, it's freezing out here, Dad. I was like, it's 60, it's 65, sweetie. It's 65 degrees.
I do not like it cold. And you know my theory on this. Fall is a lovely season, but because I can't live in the moment very well, it forebodes winter. And I don't like that. I do not like.
Look, I hear you, but it's fire season, fire pit season. We got the fire pit out back. We got the fireplace. We got soups and chili.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
Soup and chili season.
August.
It's football season. It's
August.
Halloween. It's Halloween season. It's
Halloween season.
It's
August 25th.
I didn't say today. I said it's the fall is all of these seasons. It's my daughter's birthday season, which she'll be quick to point out.
My son's as well.
But it is I love it, Round. I love this time. These next 2 months are among my favorite of the entire year because it's not 107-degree heat index in Nashville, Tennessee. It was quite lovely this morning. No, D good. Good to see you, by the way. Nick Suss is on Thursdays. Okay.
Oh God, people are complaining I'm not here.
He's
not here, and then I'm here.
People are clamoring for Nick Suss.
Oh God. All right, we'll see him.
Let's see how pedantic you can get today, PK. We'll see how it works.
I cannot do. I'm sure Nick Suss could do a good Paul Kuharsky impression. I cannot do a good Nick Suss impression.
It's hard to do.
Let me tell you about the sitcoms of the 1960s.
He's always got
the
hands.
That the formulaic structure. That's
literary structure. Anyway, it was a good try, though. It was a good try. A for effort. Joshua says, what positions are you watching get cut to use our number one claim? We'll talk about that. There you go, my dude. I'm happy to have the professor here. There you go. There you go. What one PK fan on the PK show. That's great.
I've achieved my first moment of greatness as a professor, if you want a quick summation.
Oh, that's right. Did you start teaching?
Yes. Last Thursday was my first. I've got my first of my second class tomorrow night.
Okay.
But I've already achieved my first great moment.
Okay, hang on 1 second. I'm sure you made some poor child cry and everybody's laughed about it. No, here's first of all, Sinkers Beverages, Shotgun Boys Barbecue. We do appreciate them. Make sure you go check out Sinkers Beverages when you're watching football this weekend. Make sure you search Uber Eats, have the booze delivered directly to your house because unlike Todd Downing, I know all of you do not drink and drive. So obviously make sure you search Sinkers Beverages. Sign up for the in-crowd. Great early allocations and drops, as the kids say. Fantastic access. They're going to take care of you. They're not going to send you a bunch of information. They'll give you an email once every couple months and just say, hey, psst, we got some cool stuff. Why don't you come check this out? So it's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, we're going to cover Cam Ward's progress, all the rookies. I want to know what you thought of their training camps. You've been around this team a long time. You've seen training camps before. Certainly they're different today. But I want to know what you saw out of this group from game 1 to 2 to 3 as we get ready now for the Denver Broncos in week 1 coming up next weekend. And we'll project the 53-man roster. Already 16 cuts happened moments before we went on the air. So lots of stuff to get to. Now, your crowning achievement after one game.
One class.
As a college professor.
One game, one class. You're in game mode. So I thought I did reasonably well. I thought I was pretty relatable. I thought I got across some thematic stuff. This is a media ethics class. So we had some ethical situations weren't necessarily media related. I think when I had my my main meeting with my boss, she almost had a heart attack because I had a billion Chrome tabs open across the top of my screen. and I think there are people who are like, do that. And there are people who keep it very neat, right?
Fair.
She keeps it very neat. I don't. And, I reached overload because I had an extra 25 open on her behalf while we were going through Bell. And so I told that story, and the kids, I didn't have that many open. I probably had 40 something open during class, but it was up on the screen. My screen,
so they could see it.
So they could see it, and they're like, "What are all of those?" So I took my pointer and I said, "All right, well, here's Twitter and
here's Football Reference,
Facebook that are related. Here's Pro Football Reference, which is a football stat thing. Here's the inside of my website. Here's the outside of my website. Here's an ESPN Fantasy League for media people that I'm restarting for my gang that I'm with every day." I ran through that. I think they thought that was pretty humanizing and everything.
So first of all, I am fascinated by trying to for a man of your trips around the sun. How you do, like, in a serious moment, relating to a generation of people that I largely do not understand now for the first time in my life. And I just I assume making fun of yourself and your number of tabs, probably a good icebreaker there.
Yeah. Well, I heard from my boss that somebody mentioned that to her and found it very humanizing.
That was the win. Is what
I thought it was a good moment. But here's the big win.
Because that sounds like Cam Ward leading a couple of touchdown drives in preseason against twos is what that sounds like.
Okay, I'll take that. Okay. But here's the big win. So after the class, a couple kids stuck around to ask a question or tell me something. And then at the end, one young lady who was good during the class and was from Jersey, so had my vibe, came right out and said, like, "You crushed it. Your energy was like, nobody comes with that energy on day one from in front of the class.
Your age?
No, no professor brings that energy on day one in a new class." She's like, "You're gonna be awesome at this." And I was like, "Thanks." And she said, "But I have to drop the class. I'm taking 17 credits. I only need however many. I don't know what the
17. That's big.
And my Thursdays are packed, and we are ending at 6:15. I just can't do it." And I'm like, "Listen, as I've thought about teaching over the last several years, as I got ready for this semester, as I got ready for this particular class, I said to myself, if one kid comes up and says something like you just said, that will validate the whole thing. And now here you are saying it, and you're saying you're going to leave. I won't permit it. I can't permit it. It's disallowed."
Are you allowed to do that?
I do not accept you saying you're leaving the class. Of course not. I have no power whatsoever. Okay. I said, I'm going to, like, all of the people I know, the dean, the provost, I'm throwing out.
So it's not like a football player where you have to sign the letter of intent to go to the portal. Like, she can just leave, right?
And I don't know anybody except, like, I've met two people who are over my boss, one handshake, pleased to meet you, looking forward to work with you, except my boss. I'm like, everyone I know, I'm talking like I know the provost and the dean and everything. I will be in touch with you on this matter. This is not going to be allowed to happen. It cannot happen.
So you're full of shit, is what you're saying.
Right, full of shit.
Okay.
Will not be allowed to happen. And she stuck around and we talked a little bit. I asked her for more feedback on what I did and everything. She's delightful, person you'd absolutely want in your class.
Yeah.
So then I sent an email. I did talk to my boss, and my boss sent her an email. I sent her an email a couple days later, checking in and making another couple points in my case or everything. And,
land the plane.
Got an email from her 2 days ago. She's staying.
Attaboy. Educating the youths of America. By the way, D Good says, and I'll stick up for you here for a second, PK. He says, LOL, I love PK being in charge of an ethics class when he is religiously the biggest pain in the ass for Titans media. Now let me comment on one thing here.
It's ridiculous.
What makes him the pain in the ass for I'm not going to say Titans media, for like just in general. What makes you the pain in the ass is what makes you qualified to teach the ethics class.
Absolutely.
Is that you are the dog with a bone. And when Jeffrey Simmons says, I am not going to take any football questions, you're the one guy who's willing to say to him, well, but this is a football question. I'm asking you about Cam Ward's red jersey, big guy. And he says, no, I'm not going to do it. So
yeah,
I think that makes you qualified.
I have no qualms saying that I am completely qualified to teach a media ethics class.
I'm a humble man at that. So All right, let's talk football here. Congratulations, though, on being tenured at a local institution. It's tremendous. All right, so we'll do our 53-man projections. By the way, just before we get started, 16 names already cut. This came out 12 minutes ago, it looks like, roughly speaking, right at the top of the hour. Tennessee Titans have cut 16 players.
I had 3 of them earlier, by the way.
I didn't even know like a couple of these names were even on the team. So Bledsoe, Bronson, Burney, Desmond Evans, Jamari Harris, Jaquan Jackson. Pour one out for the Jaquan Jackson era. Kimber, Clarence Lewis, Davion Ross, who had a couple of nice plays in preseason. TJ Sheffield, solid camp. TJ Smith. Julius Wood is an interesting one to note. Julius Wood is waived and then released our Gaziano. Yeah. Arlington Hambright. I didn't know that was a person. I apologize, Arlington. And Sam Mustipher and Matt Landers either waived and injured. So a lot of names off the team already. I don't know how many that means they actually have to cut tomorrow. The deadline is 3:00 Central Standard God's time. So I just wanted to put that out there as of time of taping. They've already made a big chunk of their moves, which generally is to just give those guys a chance. They're the bottom of the roster. They now have a chance to go talk to some folks and have some agents talk to some folks. It sounds like we'll see what happens with those guys, but none of those guys probably priority for the scout team.
No, you're waived. This was a question that I got. You're waived if you're not a vested veteran. So you're going through waivers. You're released and become an automatic free agent if you are a vested veteran. So somebody like Mustipher, who's been around a lot, is free to go talk to anybody. The rest of them have to pass through waivers for 24 hours.
Yeah, Gaziano, Hambright, and Mustipher were released. Landers was waived, injured, and then the other names were all waived.
So Landers, when he's not claimed, winds up back on the Titans injured reserved, and they have to settle with him from there or deal with his rehab.
So I don't want to go sort of throw by throw or whatever on a Friday night game. It was interesting that Simmons and some of the defensive starters played a little bit more than I expected maybe, but I also, with this roster and this team and the situation that they're in, I have no problem with that. I think that's okay. I think more players should play more a little bit in the preseason. So I'm fine with that. First drive, terrible for the Titans offense, of course. So Cam comes back on the second drive, 13 plays, 90 yards. They lead a second touchdown drive. I believe he finishes 10 of 19, I think, on the preseason. A couple of nice throws, couple of bad throws, a couple of good throws, largely in control and poised, I think is my takeaways, that the game doesn't look too big or fast for him. We can go back and forth on individual players if we wanted to, but I just was I'm curious, sort of like, what is your perception of Cam Ward and all of the other rookies in general from the start of training camp until now, when we're going to start a game week starting on, I guess, Sunday or Monday next week? Have we seen progress? How different are they? Outside of Cam, are there players that you have noticed in this rookie class in particular? How did they handle their first preseason, their first training camp, relative to a lot of other rookies and quarterbacks that you've seen come through and do this process?
Cam, 52.6% completion rate. Now, some drops in there, but also some bad throws that I think got kind of glossed over too easily. So that would be my one concern. Look, the big question with him, I think, he cleared the hurdle that was put in front of him. But I think Brian Callahan was pretty good on this. He said, now we see what happens. I take the governor off of him in terms of don't get hit. But also all the defenses are bringing stuff at him that is not predictable, not vanilla. So it's a whole different world that he's playing in Denver starting on September 7th. And so it's a completely different animal that we're looking at. How he does with that full game, pass rush, coverages with designs, with all kinds of hidden stuff. Blitzes coming from all over the place, all different kind of pass rushes to read, whole different story, right? In terms of the rest of the rookies, I mean, I would have liked to have seen more from DK. I think we got a little bit of a sense of Io Manor, who can be good when he plays tough, but who didn't necessarily play as tough as you would like all the time. One really bad day in an Atlanta practice. I think he recovered from it, but I think teams will try to bully him and see how things go.
Quick note on it. Quick note on him. After practice on Wednesday, we kind of chatted a little bit, and he was saying like how he, some players you have to sort of like ratchet them down, right? You got to jerk the leash a little bit, bring them back into composure, bring them back into control, so that they're seeing everything right. And everybody has a different process for getting ready for war is too big of a term, but like an actual human battle on a football field. Like it's a serious thing. And he says that he's like, no, actually, I'm the other way. I've got to like figure out ways to manufacture. And he didn't use the word anxiety, but that's sort of the word that I feel like he was getting at. Like I've got to agitate myself.
Got to amp himself up.
I've got to figure out how to agitate myself, which I think is a really, first of all, very self-aware ability to look at yourself as a rookie class or a rookie player and say that. And I'm just about to ask him like, hey, I want to know what is that? Like, is it music? Is it, like it's not smelling salts anymore. You're not allowed to do that. So I was curious.
You are allowed to do it. You're not allowed to use smelling salts provided by the team, but you can put them in your pocket and bring your own.
That's
so weird.
That seems
yeah.
Weird.
They just don't want to be liable.
Fair. That's fine. But I thought that was interesting and it does sort of, it's a peek into his personality. And I agree that there's going to be moments where he's going to have to elevate himself, not in a fake way, but in a intentional sort of, I've got to personally get myself to a next level. And that's just an interesting part of who he is. That's just very interesting.
I agree. I do like, I think we all like his game, his stature, self-awareness, all of that. Now we just need to see the pace of growth. Gunnar Helm, I think a lot of encouraging things there. How often can they get the ball to him? You'd like that fight that he made on the goal line catch with two guys draped on him. Let's see them scheme him open and get him the ball in some space, which we saw less of, right? Who was I thinking of? Rookie wise, Femi, I think has a long way to go. Right?
I agree.
Blake Bedingfield wrote in at PK.com about his get off, was just not very good in this game. Did show some power, but I don't have a good feeling about Femi right now. Now, if you're an optimist about Femi, say, well, week to week it'll get better and it'll click in. Maybe a third of the way in the season you start to see some things. If you're a pessimist about Femi, say, well, let's see what Femi is next summer.
So over at Hot Read, check out the Hot Read podcast. You can watch it on the YouTube page as well. James Foster and I did a whole breakdown of Femi's game against Atlanta. And I've seen this in practice too. Like he has sort of a comfort in one move where he likes to sort of stiff arm with the inside arm. And he likes to kind of put that into the offensive lineman's body or his chest or his face. And then he likes to play off of that. So that is a good sort of speed to power move to start with. But you got to learn. It's good that you're comfortable with that, but you got to learn to add to it. What's the next step? What's the counter move? And the feet are just, it's almost like he's just a step late on everything. So he's reading it correctly, but it's a step late. He's taking off correctly, but it's a step late. And I think some of that's going to develop with time. He's thick, he's built, he's got a lot of energy. I think he's built well for the position. The only concern I have, and there's no evidence that this is true, it's just a question I have, which is, are you too much of a tweener, not a combo guard? So like in basketball, a combo guard means you are good enough to play point guard and shooting guard. A tweener means you're not really good enough to be either. So there's kind of there's a positive.
I really like that.
There's a positive connotation with combo. There's a negative connotation with tweener, in my opinion. And it's almost like he's not quite fast and agile enough to be an off-ball linebacker like he was the first few years in college. But he's not quite big and powerful enough yet to be a true edge rusher either. So are you a combo player who's going to use those skills to benefit yourself in both situations? And then, Harold Landry style, right? Drop him off the ball, drop him into coverage when needed. Or are you a tweener and you're just not quite good enough at either one to be good enough at either position? And I don't know. I'm not even saying that's going to be true. I'm just saying that is my line of thinking after watching film on him through 3 preseason games.
I do like the way you're delineating combo and tweener. I will say at a different time, tweener, Javon Curse was considered a tweener. And that wasn't a problem for Javon Curse. I'm not saying in any way that he's Javon Curse-esque. I mean, he's not. The best version of Femi Oladejo is not Javon Curse-like even.
I think it's Harold Landry plus.
Yeah.
If you're better than Harold Landry, I think that's what his best situation could be.
But I'm concerned. The flashes even have not been flashy enough. So, right now I'd say pretty optimistic about this class with a round 2 exception, kind of, that I think maybe it's a real kind of red shirtish year for him, which is going to kill them in the pass rush, in the pass rush window.
If Winston had been healthy, I could have seen them taking Winston at 52 and Oladejo at 82, and this making more sense because I think Winston is clearly a true NFL player. Like,
but even if they do that, and you feel better about the values, the lack of addressing the edge position in a way that's going to have impact, just stings. Stinks.
Austin asked this question: if Micah or Henderson were on this team, which is not going to happen, obviously, but is it far-fetched to think that they are a playoff team? They're immediately the best pass rusher on the team that they've had in the last 10 years. CJ Frazier gives my answer. I'll be more delicate with it and maybe more gentle, but the answer is yes, it is far-fetched to think that they are one pass rusher away from competing for a playoff spot. I think that they are one more draft class away from competing for a playoff spot. If last year's draft class stays on the path it's on, this year's class does what we think it can do, and they inject more talent next year with 6 or 7 or 8 more picks, whatever it is, then I think you could start to talk about playoffs. But Cam Ward, ultimately, at the end of the day, Cam Ward just has to hit. He has to be the guy at that point for them to start challenging for playoffs.
I don't think it's far-fetched to say one of those guys, but Parsons in particular, would have a war of 2 for this team. And if they're a 5-win team, they could be a 7-win team, still out of the playoffs.
Right.
If they're a 4-win team, they could be a 6-win team. Like, he could impact them in close games to turn losses into wins.
No question about that. Yeah, no question about that. Do you have any waiver wire hopes for pass rusher here on one of the questions? Look, I think they're going to be very active. We're going to do our 53-man projection, but really, like, I kind of got to like 46, 47, 48, and I was like, I think the rest of these guys might be churned based on what they go do with the waiver wire and some available pieces that are going to be out there. So I expect them to be very active.
5, 6, 7 guys. If you give me a second here, though, I will say, and Blake Beddingfield's piece this week at paulkuharsky.com is a free preview sample. So if you're not a member, go read it. But he says, I'll quote him here: cutting someone off your roster requires passing on someone that you spent months teaching and developing during minicamp and training camp with the hopes that a new player is better. Remember that the new player wasn't good enough for the team that just cut him. What that says is your scouting staff / front office didn't do a good enough job of creating competition among the 90 players you brought to camp. The Titans select a player or players and subsequently must cut from their 53. It says another team's cast-offs are better than your 53 best.
So I obviously factually that is correct, but I think suggesting that it's somehow some indictment of your front office that like the 54th, 55th, and 56th guys on one of the better teams in the league is not better than your 49th or 50th guys. I don't think that's some massive indictment of your front office. I think that's just a statement of where your talent is at, which again is your job as the front office. I get that.
No, but I do the core of what he's saying about development, that you can't develop your 49th guy to be better than somebody else's 54th guy, is in those terms, from a scouting perspective, you've got to be disappointed to see your guy gone and the other guy brought in. And I think people need to remember the not the affinity for, but the value they place on that. You've had this guy since March through camp. I do think, and we'll go through our rosters, how many of the guys that we have in that we think will be here for a day. I have several.
Yeah, no, I've got a few. Look, this is not to be argumentative with Blake. That's not my point here. But I do think this is an interesting academic conversation. Julius Chestnut, Bryce Oliver, and John Ojukwu, hypothetically, those three. Those are complete finds, and Gabe Judy Lolly to some degree. These are guys that the organization found and have developed and I would say are not guys like 50, 51, 52. Maybe Gabe Judy Lolly is, maybe Ojukwu is, but maybe some guy that's on the Buffalo Bills or the Ravens or the Niners, like these rosters that are significantly deeper and better. I don't think it's a huge indictment of anybody that the Buffalo Bills 10th lineman might be better than the Titans 9th lineman. Like, I just don't think that's that big of a. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think they're dying to replace Julius Chestnut. Dying to replace him.
No, I hear you. Bryce Oliver might be the best example.
Bryce Oliver, I think Bryce Oliver is a rare Titan. He's definitely on the roster. If they cut him, he would get claimed. Here's another way to look at it. How many of the guys the Titans cut? How many guys they initially cut are going to get claimed? I would venture none. How many guys they cut to claim people will get claimed? I would venture
not a lot.
Maybe one, probably none.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of alley gays on this roster.
Yeah,
or maybe not a lot, too many. And if like there's 4 or 5, that's probably too many. And that's not meant to be disrespectful to alley gay. It's just kind of is what it is.
And I would put alley gay in a certain spot. Like alley gay, at least, is a traits guy. Like alley gay, you look at and say, well, there's a guy with some extraordinary length for that position who can run, right? So maybe we bring that guy in to see if we couldn't turn him into something still. Not old, has some experience. And I look at him at practice all the time and I think, wow, I think you ought to be able to get something out of that guy. You have him in or out?
Ali Gay?
Yeah.
I'm gonna work off your 53. I did not have him on my list. I know you do. But I only have like 51 guys on the team.
Oh, all right. So you got to put 53.
I've got to put 2 more guys on
there,
and
then say who's temporary.
Let me take one pause here. Sinkers, beverages. Everybody take a shot. You're gonna need it. But like QC says, Van Jefferson making it right. BC doesn't take fan vote into consideration. This Van Jefferson conversation, I am done with it. I am so tired of this shit. And I always love my Music City Audible guys. But they kind of started this whole, like, that was one of the worst drops in NFL history. No, PFF graded Cam Ward's throw as an inaccurate throw on the deep corner route that Jefferson dropped against Atlanta. He threw it too hard and a step outside. Now, should Van Jefferson had been maybe in a better position? Sure, we can have that discussion.
Well, he still should have caught it where he was, I think.
It's a very, very, very hard catch when you lose sight of the football when it's on a rope like that, looking back over your shoulder, running fast. Now, you're a professional. You're supposed to catch it. But for people to suggest that is somehow the reason that he should be cut, Van Jefferson is better. Outrageous. He is better than everybody on the roster, potentially not named Calvin Ridley at wide receiver. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that he's going to be
I'd put him third.
I agree.
I think Lockett's better.
I think at the end of the year, I hope Ayo Manner's number 2, and I hope he takes his spot. But right now, Van Jefferson is on. He is not even close to being cut. And the conversation around that throw being the best throw of Cam Ward's preseason and the worst play of Van Jefferson's life is insane to me. It's insane to me.
And then this idea, I mean, you want to take it to extremes. The idea that Restrepo should get his spot. I mean, Restrepo doesn't even play his position.
I know.
And Restrepo, you want to talk about where he would have been on that ball? He would have been 4 strides short of being anywhere near that ball.
How many catches did Xavier Restrepo have in 3 preseason games?
2? 1.
The Restrepo conversation's over, I feel like. Thank you, QC. I knew you could
it was a big accomplishment for Restrepo not to get cut today, to get cut tomorrow.
All right, so Josh Wiley, LT3, I'm not sure if you're referring to sort of like one of these alley gay like traits guys that maybe shouldn't be on the team. I don't know if he makes the roster, to be honest with you. I do think he would get picked up by a team at some point for a practice squad because he does have a lot of traits. This is the right question, I think, Josh. How big of a gap is there between 45 and 65? And that is the issue for the Titans relative to other teams. Is the gap between 45 and 65 is very large for a lot of other teams. And the gap between 45 and 65 for the Titans is not as large.
No.
That's just that you are the worst team in the league with the worst record in the league. You are going to have less players, less talent than everybody else. You got to rebuild it.
I agree with that, but I will say they did not have a good undrafted rookie free agent year. You've had conversations with people on the sidelines there, and you say, "Hey, who's popping amongst the kids?" What'd you hear? Nothing.
About
Did you hear anybody's names? Did you hear any names? Are any of them making it? Desmond Evans, we thought looked good. Did anybody tell you Desmond Evans looked good? Nobody told me Desmond Evans looked good. Nobody named anybody to me.
Jamari Harris at the beginning. And then it failed. Yeah.
They spent big money on those 4 undrafted rookie free agents. Every one of them was cut today in the first wave. Every one of them. Ross.
How'd they get Udo?
Ross, Lewis, Harris, and I can't remember the other one. All 4 of them gone.
Was Restrepo not one of them?
One of what?
He was he was obviously a UDFA.
Undrafted rookie free agent. He's done nothing.
I meant, is he one of the expensive ones? I don't remember how much they paid him.
No, he wasn't super expensive.
What about Oli Udo? Where did they get him? Why am I drawing a blank on that?
I think he might have had a little bit of experience. I mean, I'll tell you, Brandon Crenshaw Dixon.
Okay,
he's a good undrafted rookie free agent. I don't think he's making the roster. I think they've got him tabbed for the practice squad.
And they did.
And I think he'll be a good developmental tackle who will turn out to have been a good investment with that money. And look, this money has offset money. So if these guys go, if they're on your practice squad, that's all right. I don't think guys getting cut today are on the practice squad. I think today they cut the guys who are not on the practice squad. But if they go and latch onto somebody else's practice squad, you've got offset off of what you paid them.
Yep.
And it's the price of doing business that you pay some of these guys, and you just swallow it. But I don't think this has been a very strong undrafted rookie free agent class, and that's an indictment of the scouts.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair. All right, before we get into our 53-man, of course, Sinkers Beverages, Shotgun Willie's Barbecue. Shotgun Willie's open Wednesday through Sunday, not Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. or until that meat is gone. And you can go buy great merch. They got the Love You Blue merch in there because he's the official barbecue of the Houston Oilers. He's a fan in purgatory. Doesn't like the Texans, doesn't love the Titans, but supports the local community. And so he's got a bunch of Love You Blue gear in there as a hat tip to the Oilers franchise. So go support the best brisket in the city. Less than 10 minutes from Nissan Stadium, right there off Briley Parkway on the north side of town. Super convenient to get to it. Great parking lot for free. Mechanical bull from scratch side items, and the best brisket. I promise you, the best brisket you will have in this city. It is spectacular. So,
if I lived within 15 minutes of that place, I would go as soon as we were done with the show.
It's dangerous.
Even though they're closed.
It's dangerous for me to be like 8.5 from Shotgun Willie's Barbecue. It's dangerous. I have to be careful. Tony's Magic Green Beans, spectacular.
Eddie, he's not going to take your comment, but I think it's a great comment. I'll just say that.
Where's that? This one right here. I don't think the guys who comped Ward to Jesus can be trusted to be rational. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I like that. I'll take Eddie's. Eddie's a great commenter. Eddie, don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. He's trying to get kids suspended and expelled from Belmont. What are we doing?
Suspended and expelled. I wanted the girl in my class.
All right. Quarterbacks. I have 2, Cam Ward, Brandon Allen, but I like your little line in your story, which is keep an eye on Trevor Siemian. He might be better than Brandon Allen.
I think he's probably better than Brandon Allen. I mean, I think he came in. I think they wasted a lot of time with your boy Tim Boyle.
No,
they could have had Siemian.
Not my boy.
They could have had Siemian in house, and in which case I think he really would have a chance of taking over Brandon Allen.
That quarterback room's in hot water, my guy. Look, I think there's also a chance they are looking for someone else, but it's almost too late in the process to do that. Like, you already got in Siemian, who's been around this franchise at least for a little bit. So there you go.
I think they'd like a young developmental guy,
like a former second round pick with lots of talent and a big arm, and he's kind of tall and powerful and does good commercials like that.
Well, he really screwed things up.
Okay, we're not gonna open that can right now.
A lot of people. I mean, I've seen some chatter about like who is it? The Raiders need an experienced backup now because.
You don't think you can get a fourth for Brandon Allen?
Went down there. No, they're talking about Levis. So people are saying if only Levis didn't have shoulder surgery, the Titans could be trading him to the Raiders. And I'm saying if only Levis didn't have shoulder surgery, the Titans would have a competent backup.
they could still trade him to the Raiders, by the way. Do you think that if they claim a quarterback that Allen would just stay on the practice squad to be a coach in the room? He does know where to go with the ball, and he does make the right decision. The ball just gets there a little too slow because the arm's not there.
So. I got a big thing about this.
Okay. All right.
I think they like Bo Hardigree as the coach because he's the coach.
Oh. Here's the other thing. I know for a fact that other NFL teams like Bo Hardigree a lot as a coach.
Well,
how about that?
Let the coach. If there's a guy who can play competently, who has some coaching qualities, that's a benefit. You don't keep a guy because his best quality is that he can coach.
I've heard your spiel on this, and I tend to agree with it. Running back, how much does Spears' injury sort of mess with the overall roster here, knowing that you probably need to keep Chestnut and Mullings? Maybe there's a 4-game sort of PUP situation here for Spears. I doubt he's ready for week 1. They're going to have to keep 4, right?
I'm not positive I have this right. I don't think you can go PUP unless you've been PUP. So I think it's IR.
Sorry. My apologies.
Am I right on
IR.
that?
No, I think you're right. I think it's IR, but it functions the same way. It functions
4-game. You got 8 recalls of the 4-game. We have no idea how bad Spears is. And here's the other thing. Like if he's out 2 games, is it worth it to put him out 4 games? I don't think you can make that decision without knowing what you're getting off of waivers. You have to deactivate 5 guys anyway. You're pretty healthy. So I would lean towards him not going on IR. I think they're going
to keep 4 either way, right?
Yeah. And I think they're definitely going to claim a running back, and they may end up having 5 then, or cutting Chestnut. I don't think Chestnut is. I mean, I think they like Chestnut for what he is. I think they just want more.
He's a good special teamer. So Pollard, Spears, Chestnut, Mullings. Actually, I might go Mullings then Chestnut, but I do think they're going to keep 4 because of the Spears injury. Ridley, Lockett, Jefferson, Iomanner, DK, Oliver. You actually could move those bottom 3 around in whatever order you want. Really, the discussion is: are you keeping 7? Has Prochet earned the punt returning job yet? And I don't know if we know that.
I don't know if he's earned the punt returning job, but I think he's one of the best 53 guys on the roster, and I'm keeping him because of that. Now, maybe that doesn't last. I think DK is going to be the returner, and I think Prochet would be inactive. But he's one of the best 53 guys on the roster. And also, they kept last year at the end of the season, they had 11 receivers plus tight ends, and they're going down at tight end. So I think you're going to have at least 10. And I've got, with Prochet on the roster, I've still only got 10.
Yeah. I've really struggled with the tight end position because I've kind of gone like, I can see why Odukoya brings something different. Wiley's always felt like the odd man out. I am now with David Martin Robinson as the 3rd tight end with Helm and Chig, and then Wiley and Odukoya both cut. Those are the 3 that I think will make the team. I think they would probably try to. Now, if they don't call Odukoya up to the starting roster, can you go back to international, or is that already done?
I don't know if they get an exception for him any longer on the practice squad, but they've had an exception for him all camp. The roster's been 91. He counted as an international exemption.
That's what I thought.
So it's odd how that works. I haven't heard his name one time.
Yeah,
all preseason. I think his story has pretty much run its course.
I'm glad that we agree on DMR, though, by the way.
You could probably do worse. I haven't heard DMR's name a lot either, but I think he's got upside. But I really think it's Chig and Gunner's show.
I think David Martin Robinson would get claimed right away if they cut him.
Yeah, I think upside for sure.
Starting 5 on the offensive line: Kush, Zeitler, J.C. Moore, Skoronski. We know Corey Levin's going to make the team. We know Jackson Slater's going to make the team. We know Blake Hance is going to make the team. So really the question is it 9? Is it 10? And we think Crenshaw Dixon is going to get practice squad. I think we can safely say that. So it's Uda. Am I saying that right?
Udo, I think.
Udo, Ojukwu, and Duncan. Maybe for 1 spot, maybe for 2.
I think Duncan's dead. I think it's Ojukwu against Udo, and I'm giving it to Udo. But I think that's a toss-up, probably.
I could see them keeping both of them.
And so then I've got Moore, Latham, Udo as the tackles. I've got Hance as a guard who can play tackle, so very swingy. So I've got 3 tackles, 4 guards with Slater and Hance as guards, but Hance as a swing, and then Cushenberry Levin.
I do think it's interesting because you have to keep a 4th running back and maybe 7 receivers. Does that limit you at offensive line potentially? And how important is Ojukwu to you or Udo to you in terms of keeping numbers at a position that honestly, PK, I would say on the day before cutdown, this roster at offensive line looks better than I can ever remember, to be honest with you. Like the depth and the backups and the starters. And I know that we were talking about the offensive line for like 9 years in a row now.
The one reason you might keep 10 and keep Ojukwu is for fear of him getting claimed. Again, I'm not big. I don't think nearly as many people get claimed, and it's not nearly as risky as you think. Though, some conversations lately, and if you look at what Philly did, I mean, they traded for a really low-ranking tackle, the best offensive line team in the league. Just offensive line depth is just not there. And so, but I mean, if you think Brendan Crenshaw Dixon can be ready for you, if you have trouble, you can be done with the Ojukwu. Otherwise, you maybe would be trying to get him on your practice squad as well.
I could see
Rupsich, I think, would go to the practice squad as well.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of how confident are you could get him to your practice squad. I would think you could get him to your practice squad.
Sam asked a good question here. Aren't these scouts? That's good time. It's a good break here between the offense and the defense. Aren't these scouts still Rands and therefore really J-Robs, since Rand never really cleaned house? Yes, from what I understand, the vast majority of these are John Robinson scouts. Now, when were they? I think a lot of them also came in through Vrabel as well. I think Vrabel was a part of that to some more than maybe the average head coach.
I'm not sure about the Vrabel part.
Okay.
And I think there may have been. I was going to say even pre-existing J-Rob.
I think so. I think there are a couple.
Yeah. They don't make changes.
No. And generally there's like those guys, like for those that don't know, you have like an area scout, right? That's like, let's say the Southeast that watches SEC teams and, Sunbelt teams, and they'll kind of study those players. And then that they will report back up to the chain of command. But there's like 2 or 3 layers before you get to John Robinson or Rand Carthon or Borgonzi or Brinker. And so generally you're just sort of like, you have marching orders, and you correct me if I'm wrong on this. You have marching orders. Hey, make sure you're watching this player, this player, this player. You're casting a wide net to find guys that you believe in as a scout. And then you kind of like, you don't really make any decisions. You're a part of like the group conversation, but you're not really making any decisions. So
you're writing the initial report and you're collecting the initial data, height, weight, speed, background information. Yeah. And then there's a cross checker on each side of the Mississippi. So there's you, then you bring it to the cross checker, then you and the cross checker bring it to Borgonzi in this instance.
I guess, and this is going to sound, I don't mean to be like insulting to area scouts, but like they are like, who that is not necessarily as important. Like, it's
in
like
some organizations, it's more important than others. And it doesn't seem to Robinson, I don't think gave those guys much sway. Rand, I don't think knew what he was doing really with them.
Agree.
I think Borgonzi and Brinker intend for this to be a more traditional scouting organization, which would give those guys more sway.
Then why do they have 5 general managers?
Power. At least more power in the late rounds and with the undrafted. But this initial undrafted result is not good.
I mean, they have 4 general managers working in the front office. So the inner circle of decision makers is McKenzie, Ziegler, Borgonzi, and Brinker.
And you're forgetting this Sagany, who came from Cleveland, who's another big executive. So they're really 5.
They got a lot of heavy names at the top with experience. So my point is they're relying on that core group to make almost all the decisions. In my opinion. All right, let's go defense here. Sinkers, beverages, of course.
I mean, this just for a quick comparison. Sorry, you go back to Blake Bedingfield. Obviously, I got a close relationship with him and depend on him a lot because he writes for my site. But this wasn't me who wrote it. This was Joe Rexroth when he went back and told the Derrick Henry story. And people, not Blake Bedingfield, gave Blake Bedingfield a ton of credit for convincing the Titans to go with Derrick Henry, because Blake Bedingfield went to Mike Mularkey and John Robinson. And he said, what happens? Our identity is the run game. What happens if DeMarco Murray goes down, and what happens after DeMarco Murray? If DeMarco Murray goes down, we are not who we want to be. And here's Derrick Henry. He's going to be available to us right here. He's a great value pick here, and he's an identity guarantee. Now, that he was the college scouting director, so he wasn't an area scout.
There you go.
But there's a guy that had one of the other scouts told Joe Rexroth, without Blake Bedingfield, Derrick Henry would not have been a Tennessee Titan. Now, there's influence in the scouting department. I haven't heard many stories like that since.
But again, so a couple things here. This kind of ties into the question about Eddie saying, is there one day going to be a tell-all on Carthon and all the vibes? Like, first of all, there are still plenty of people in place that you cannot do all the tell-all yet. So as long as there are people in place that are overlapping and involved, like you kind of have to have a new era before a lot of that stuff starts to come out.
Yeah, and they need to be retired, really.
Right, exactly. The reason you get the Derrick Henry score is that Blake's not working in the NFL anymore. So there you go. But also, he is not an area scout. Like he's up the pyramid making those decisions.
Halfway up, at least. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So again,
of influence. But is that level guy of that level influence anymore? Would he be heard? Would he even be given an opportunity on draft day to be making that case at that late stage? I don't know. The door's probably closed to that guy now.
Austin says, have we been consistent on any position in the last 10 years? We have failed at every part of the field. LOL, fantastically. I mean, obviously the running game was part of their identity for a long, long time. Defensive line, they've done pretty well over the years. I think
they do pretty well at corner overall.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, Brownlee is kind of in the tradition of them finding a Cortland Finnegan or Alteron Werner. Not all-stars, but guys who can play.
Jarrell Casey threw Tavondre Sweat with Jeffrey Simmons in there. Pretty good. Pretty good development of players in there. I'm with you on corner. Running back has certainly been something they've been very good at, acquiring pieces, the right kind of pieces over the course of the years. So it's Austin. It's not all bad, you know.
But we know what hits more is the fact that they can't do wide receiver, and they used to do offensive line, right? Then they have post Munchak. Yeah. And post Munchak, post Lewan, it's been bad.
Now, what's interesting is that with Bill Callahan and both Latham and Skoronski, they could be getting back to that identity in theory, because Skoronski has been, I mean, honestly, one of the best players on the entire roster, and I think Latham's going to have a really good year. So we'll see what happens.
Sam asks, who's Blake's equivalent in the current structure? It's John Salgi, who right. I think is a talented guy, and I think he's got some standing with ownership, some standing with Wasserman. But I don't know exactly where he is.
I think
I do know a little bit. I do know a little bit more than I can say.
Gotcha.
that bodes well for him.
Okay, there you go. I think this is an interesting one. We can't really dive into it right now. QC is, does Borgonzi wait a year to evaluate who's on staff before making changes there? Are you talking about front office, or are you talking about coaching staff? Because Nick and I had a really long conversation about sort of, if the Titans are better, there's a number of reasons they can be better, because you're being evaluated on progress here, right? And you can be better because you have better players, which is front office. You can be better because you have a better scheme, which is coaching staff, and you can be better because you have better culture, which is sort of a combination of all of them. And with those three things, the one that they changed the least was the scheme. They kept everybody intact. You got the trio at the top with Denard and with Holes and with Callahan, all coming back, expecting to grow. That the scheme is the one that they made very little changes to, other than bringing in Fossil to help with special teams.
Yeah, I take that question as asking about the scouting staff, and I would say yes, but I would also say if these guys are doing the information gathering that they want, and that's what they want based on all this talent at the top who's ultimately doing the evaluation, then these guys are doing what they want.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, let's go defense real quick. Simmons, Sweat, Sebastian Joseph Day. I think James Lynch is on the roster pretty obviously. So the question is, do they keep a fifth one, and is that Timmy Horn, in your opinion? You got Watkins and Horsley as well, kind of. And Horsley's another one that is one of the UDFAs that they clearly like.
That's Timmy Horn, in my opinion. I think he'd be quickly replaced. Yeah. I think Lynch has really done a nice job showing. Carlos Watkins has flashed. I haven't heard his name, though, from anybody talking about him. I think Horsley, in a small role, like a run-stopping situation, up the middle goal line, but aren't you going to have Sweat and Simmons in there in that situation? So I think he's a practice squad guy. I think it's Horn, and Horn replaced quickly Watkins practice squad.
And this is the position that is obviously the one that will be the most active, and I could see two of these guys being churned by the end of the day, or by the end of the day tomorrow or this week, which is that on the edge you're going to keep Jones, Dermont Jones, Arden Key, Femi Oladejo, probably Jaheed Ward and Ali Gay. You've already cut Evans. Jalen Harrell's probably on the backside of that cut list potentially as well. Maybe not, because I have not seen a lot of realized potential with Ali Gay. But I could see two guys coming in as maybe one waiver wire claim and maybe one actual free agent where you just go spend on somebody not named Preston Smith.
The thing about Jihad Ward that I think makes him a little bit attractive is, like, in this last game, I was sitting with Tehran and we were watching. I mean, he was lining up as an interior defensive lineman
all over the place. Yep.
So if he can go from interior defensive line, to end to edge, and I think he could play edge where he could even drop off in coverage. I mean, that's a multi-positional chess piece. Not that he's a great football player.
And I don't know.
He could do a lot of things for you.
I agree. I don't know if this matters, but it's just an observation. He's kind of a fecal agitator, as they say in hockey. He likes to stir shit up, and like he's the guy messing with the players if they're doing interviews, or he's the guy kind of chatting about this or kind of chatting about that, and not in a bad way necessarily, but he kind of likes to just kind of stir things up a little bit. And so I don't know if that's something they're looking for, if that's the kind of personality they want. They might want that kind of personality because they don't have a lot of those guys. But I think he's clearly number 4. Also a large, huge, big body at the edge, to your point, that can slide inside on big.
The guy that quit right before the season started?
Lorenzo Carter would be a nice piece right now. I
never remember Lorenzo Carter's name, but I think Jihad Ward has turned out to be better than Lorenzo Carter would have been. I think they actually wound up upgrading.
Okay. I think he's bigger, but probably better against the run and more versatile, but I don't know if he's going to get after the quarterback better than Lorenzo Carter, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Linebackers, I could see them keeping 3. They're not going to, but I could see it because right now, Cody Barton, James Williams, and Cedric Gray, Cedric Gray still has major issues in coverage, y'all. I like what you can be excited about him in the last 2 games, making a lot of plays, but he is real bad in zone coverage in particular. Got to learn that. James Williams, as a safety, very good in those situations, running around in space. And if Cedric Gray could be on, I think this is what James Foster said, if Cedric Gray could be on James Williams' back and work the arms and legs, then it would be a really good middle linebacker, because Williams is good at flowing outside in space. Cedric Gray's a little bit better at attacking the line of scrimmage. Williams better in coverage. They're both, I don't know what we're going to see. In fact,
2 incomplete guys.
I could see them, Gray's on the field in first and second down in sort of obvious run situations, Williams on the field in obvious pass situations, in sort of like a large nickel or number 2 backer. It's not really a dime package necessarily. So I could see them actually having them out there in situational football elements. Curtis Jacobs probably is number 4. This is still the worst position on the defense, in my opinion. The second middle linebacker next to Cody Barton. And
Curtis Jacobs.
That's okay.
Quickly replaced, I think, if he makes it. And I think I've talked about this. I think you got a couple dime packages there to get that second guy off the field. I think Condre Diggs makes it and is on the field in some packages. And I think Winston, once he's healthy and gets a feel for it, is on the field in some dime packages.
Because I think there's a good chance that Winston is inactive, sort of like Spears, right? Like for a couple of these early games, just to see. Cornerback is interesting. Snead, Brownlee, McCreary, obviously. Baker, Marcus Harris, who's developed really nicely, had a couple of really good plays in coverage against Atlanta. And then I agree with you. I had Gabe Jeudy-Lally at 6 because he plays a lot in the slot. He's a good tackler in space. He's not necessarily great in man coverage, but I think he's good around the line of scrimmage. And if you're trying to find guys who can play in the slot, who can play in run situations where you can go like a big heavy dime or a heavy nickel, I think he kind of can give you some of that. I just don't know how good he is on the outside in like true, against top level receivers. I just don't know yet.
It's funny because I don't think he's really a slot, Gabe Jeudy-Lally. And I think they're loaded with slots, but the way they have to organize the depth chart, he's got to be the second nickel behind McCreary. McCreary is a true nickel. Brownlee would be better at nickel. Harris would be better at nickel. But obviously they need Brownlee outside. He's probably their best outside guy until we see if Snead can do anything.
They need Harris outside. They need everybody outside.
And they need Harris to be a second guy outside. And maybe he jumps Darrell Baker and he's their third outside guy, which could very well be their second outside guy if Snead can't do anything.
This is if I am writing a scouting report for the Tennessee Titans in terms of college football games to watch this weekend, it is about edge and corner. Those are the two positions that I am looking at if I'm watching college football games this weekend. Safety, really deep and really kind of versatile group here. Hooker, Woods, Winston, Diggs, I think, are on the team. The question is Mike Brown versus Kendall Brooks. I thought maybe Julius Wood would be in that conversation, but he's already been cut. So,
by the way, Julius Wood, not that this would determine his fate, has one game left on his suspension. He didn't play the last 5 games last year for a drug enhancement suspension. I think a lot of us have forgotten that. He's got 1 game left on that. I think the choice was between him and Mike Brown for special teams. And I think Mike Brown's slightly better special teamer, and I think he makes it on that. Specialists, Morgan Cox, who's great. Joey Sly, who finished strong. Obviously, Johnny Hecker, who finished strong. I think you could feel better about the Titans' legs.
I think the last players on this team are Curtis Jacobs, Mike Brown, Ali Gay, Timmy Horn, James Prochet. Does that sound like the last 5?
Yeah, I could see all 5 of those
being churned.
Conceivably being churned. Prochet maybe for a different position.
And
I could see them going 5 at running back.
Yeah.
Or, I think Chestnut, not because he's as low a level player as them, just because they want to upgrade him.
I do think it's important that when they do claim players, you don't automatically just assume it's because it's an indictment of the position group. Sometimes you're claiming a player because that player is just too good to not pass up, and so he can make you better. Obviously, edge, we're looking at depth at corner. You're looking at maybe inside linebacker. You're looking at, so it doesn't necessarily, if they go claim an offensive lineman, it's just because they feel like they can upgrade a position, not necessarily because it's a position of concern or whatever. So that's a weird kind of.
Well, I think outside. I mean, I know what you're saying thematically. I think offensive line depth is a concern everywhere in the league. That is a spot where that number 1 waiver claim is big. I think you'll see them claim other guys with that first pick where those guys aren't claimed by somebody else. You don't always find out. You don't always find out if other people put in claims. They just don't want you to know that they claimed the guy that they didn't get. It'll be nice to find that out.
Sam says, I know we had some guys banged up, but felt like we got through the offseason with less injuries than we have been used to. This is a very healthy team right now. Outside of Spears, I'm not looking at Winston, I guess, but we kind of knew that. I mean, honestly, it's as healthy as you could probably be going into the first week of the season, as long as nothing happens in the next couple of light practices this week. So
yeah, it's very good.
So that's a good place to be. The question is, when you look at this group, just not trying to get into a deep conversation here, but I want to end on this. Where is this 53 talent-wise relative to this moment the day before cuts last year?
I'd have to look at it.
I feel like it's more talented.
Stall for a second. I just printed out last year's thing, guys.
Okay.
Let's go an extra 5 minutes.
I think it is a more talented overall group. There's certainly some positions that are less talented, but I think overall, and remember, Levis technically counts on this as well. So I think it is more talented at receiver, more talented at quarterback. I think it's more talented at tight end. I think it's more talented at offensive line. I think it is more talented at safety and along the defensive line. I think you're looking at edge and you're looking at linebacker and saying, and even with Barton being clearly better than anything they had last year, you could make the case that linebacker is more talented with Williams. Great. Honestly, outside of edge, PK, what I was saying is that you could say almost every position group is just a little bit more talented than it was last year at this stage. And I think that's sort of the job of the front office, to be fair.
I unfortunately can't help with opening day last year, but I have the end of season. End of season, they had a guy like Joshua Kelly at running back. End of season wide receivers last year: Tyler Boyd, Jaquan Jackson, Mason Kinsey, Tay Martin, Bryce Oliver, Calvin Ridley, NWI. Tay Martin and Jaquan Jackson and Tyler Boyd, they've upgraded.
And Bryce Oliver.
They've upgraded those three. Tight end, you had Nick Vanette. And
I don't think they have a Nick Vanette player on this roster, which could be a concern, but we'll see.
Guards included Arlington Hambright and Dylan Radins.
They are way better at the offensive line.
Tackle better. Included Nick Petit-Frere, Jalen Duncan, and John Ojukwu. Not good. Defensive line, I still don't really understand with what happened with Keandre Coburn, and I don't know if he's in the league or not. But
such an early cut.
There's a story there.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Linebacker: Jerome Baker, Khalid Duke.
Oh, brutal.
Luke Gifford, Raquan McMillan. Those guys were on the roster at the end of the season.
Didn't Raquan McMillan get a contract? Didn't he just get a big contract?
Inside linebacker. I don't know. Outside linebacker, Khalid Duke. I should have listed him there. Jalen Harrell. Cornerback, Awuzie was up at that stage. Justin Hardy, who was actually helped them a lot on special teams. Kendall Brooks, I didn't remember, was up at the end of the season. Daryl Worley, who actually helped them a lot. I think roster talent is better.
Yeah.
It's not as better as maybe we want it to be, but I think you look at some of the groups, they feel fuller. Receiver is a fuller position. Offensive line is a fuller position. And those are two of the big three positions that everybody wanted, right? Edge is still a mess.
I think they're better at almost every position except for edge. But it's not Raquan McMillan, who was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school going to Alabama. It was Mario Edwards, who was a 5-star recruit going to Florida State, who got a 2-year, $9.5 million deal for the Texans.
Did some nice work when he was here.
And that's the guy that they didn't bring back. So, and that's the one that's the one I was thinking of, not McMillan. I was thinking of Edwards. So, all right, I think they're better. And I think if you want some optimism, they've found a quarterback who's more talented. They've got a roster that's more talented. That they're healthier than they've ever been before, and I still think they're like a 6 or 7 win team.
Yeah, same here. Incremental. It's going to be incremental, but you should feel better about, what they have here.
So on Monday, you and I, because Nick and I are going to spend some time reacting to the cut down on Thursday. We'll also talk a little college football because we haven't done a lot of that this summer, but the college football season is here. Next Monday, Paul and I will have our sort of official predictions in stone for all of you guys out there. And as I did on Thursday's show, I am going to post right now the link to the Fantasy League into the chat. I only want this for folks who are still around at this time of the show, because I want you guys who are the most sort of like committed and dedicated to this whole thing. I want you guys to have the opportunity to get to this. So if you're listening on the podcast app of choice, please go to the YouTube page. Number one, we'd love for you to subscribe and to obviously, thumbs up, notifications turned on, all that great stuff. But we've only got a couple of slots left. We did this on Thursday's show and filled up a big chunk of the league. I want to give the loyal listeners the first opportunity to do this. And so if you are listening, check the link, easy for me to say, that I just threw up into the chat right now on YouTube. Make sure you go check that out. So if you want to join, there's only a couple slots left. We will have a draft at some point before next Thursday. So I think it's scheduled for maybe like Monday night, Labor Day night, maybe something like that. So there you go. Otherwise, PK, congratulations on your new venture there as a professor of higher education.
Retaining my student.
Preparing the youths of America to go out and conquer digital engagement. It's tremendous.
All right, back to work. I've pledged that between today and tomorrow, I'm going to both clean up my office and take care of the bedroom situation where I've got this clean laundry everywhere. I
No one wants to know about your bedroom situation.
I got to get my life in order.
Well, please do that. Good luck with that.
That's what I'm going to do now. That's what I'm telling you. That's what's next.
In my household, because I know she doesn't listen, I'm not the problem about that. No. I've got the other one needs to get her life.
Send her a text.
Get her life organized.
We're kindred spirits.
Get yourself organized is what I got to say. All right, Sinkers Beverages, Shotgun Boys Barbecue. Thank you guys all for listening. Football's almost here, boys. It's gonna be so much fun. Let's do it. All right, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.